Russia launches largest missile and drone barrage on Kyiv since war began. According to the Associated Press, Russia launched its largest aerial assault on Kyiv since the war began, injuring at least 23 people in a 7-hour barrage overnight into Friday. Ukrainian officials reported that over 550 drones and missiles were fired nationwide, with the capital as the primary target, causing severe damage to residential buildings and infrastructure. The attack occurred just hours after a phone call between the US and Russian presidents, which Ukrainian officials described as a deliberate signal of Moscow's intent. Russia becomes first nation to formally recognize Taliban rule in Afghanistan. According to the Associated Press, Russia on Thursday became the first country to formally recognize the Taliban's government in Afghanistan since the group seized power in 2021. The Russian Foreign Ministry announced it had received credentials from a Taliban-appointed ambassador, a move Moscow said would foster bilateral cooperation. The Taliban, which has sought international legitimacy while imposing strict Islamic law and restricting women's rights, hailed the decision as a historic step and an example for other nations to follow. Dutch Parliament passes controversial bill tightening asylum restrictions. According to the Associated Press, the Dutch Parliament's lower house on Thursday passed a pair of contentious bills to tighten asylum laws, a cornerstone policy of Geert Wilders's far-right party. The legislation reduces temporary residency from 5 to 3 years, restricts family reunions, and criminalizes undocumented migrants and those who offer them aid. The bill, which passed narrowly before the summer recess, now faces a vote in the upper house, where its future remains uncertain. North Korean man crosses heavily fortified border into South Korea. According to the Associated Press, an unidentified North Korean man crossed the heavily fortified land border into South Korea on Thursday night and is now in custody. South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff said the military conducted a guiding operation to secure the individual near the central west section of the military demarcation line. The incident comes amid heightened tensions on the peninsula, and authorities are investigating the circumstances of the rare and dangerous crossing. Deadly wildfires kill 2 in Turkey as thousands evacuate on Greek island. According to the Associated Press, wildfires raging across western Turkey have killed at least 2 people, while a major blaze on the Greek island of Crete forced the evacuation of over 5,000 tourists and residents. Authorities in both countries on Thursday battled the fires, which are fueled by a severe heat wave, strong winds, and dry conditions. In Crete's Ierapetra region, some people fled to the sea to escape the flames, highlighting the intensity of the climate-driven emergency. U.S. weekly jobless claims fall, but continuing claims remain elevated. According to the Associated Press, the number of Americans applying for unemployment benefits fell last week, but the total number of people collecting aid remained near a multi-year high. The Labor Department reported Thursday that initial jobless claims for the week ending June 28 dropped by 4,000 to 233,000. However, continuing claims held steady at 1.97 million, suggesting that while layoffs remain low, it is becoming more difficult for unemployed workers to find new jobs. U.S. trade deficit widens sharply to $71.5 billion in May on falling exports. According to Reuters, the U.S. trade deficit widened sharply by 18.7% in May to $71.5 billion, as exports fell significantly more than imports. The Commerce Department reported Thursday that exports dropped 4%, led by a decline in industrial supplies and materials, while imports edged down just 0.1%. The widening trade gap, which can be a drag on economic growth, reflects weakening global demand and potential distortions from businesses navigating ongoing trade policy uncertainty. China imposes anti-dumping duties on EU brandy amid rising trade tensions. According to Reuters, China announced Friday it will impose anti-dumping duties ranging from 27.7% to 34.9% on brandy imported from the European Union, effective July 5. The move is a widely expected retaliation for EU tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles. However, China's Ministry of Commerce stated that major producers, such as French cognac makers, would be exempt if they agree to a price undertaking, a strategic move that could soften the blow and create divisions within the EU. Eurozone unemployment rate ticks up slightly to 6.3% in May. According to Reuters, the unemployment rate in the euro area edged up to 6.3% in May, rising from a record low of 6.2% in April, according to data from Eurostat. The number of unemployed individuals in the 20-nation bloc increased by 54,000 from the prior month. The slight uptick, which includes a rise in youth unemployment to 14.4%, signals a potential cooling in the region's labor market and will be a key data point for future European Central Bank policy decisions. UK markets calm after Prime Minister Starmer affirms support for Chancellor. According to Reuters, UK financial markets stabilised on Thursday after Prime Minister Keir Starmer publicly affirmed his full support for Chancellor Rachel Reeves. UK government bond yields had risen sharply and the pound had fallen amid speculation over her future, which spooked investors who feared a departure from the government's stated fiscal discipline. The market's quick reversal underscored its continued sensitivity to any perceived political instability affecting the UK's economic policy. Saudi Aramco reportedly considers selling power assets to raise billions. According to Reuters, Saudi Aramco is considering the sale of up to 5 of its gas-fired power plants as part of a broader effort to raise funds for the state. 3 sources with knowledge of the matter said the sale of the plants, which power the company's refineries, could generate around $4 billion. The potential divestment comes as the Saudi government pushes the state-owned oil giant to increase payouts to fund massive domestic economic diversification projects. U.S. stocks close higher as investors weigh tax bill and economic data. According to the Associated Press, U.S. stocks closed higher on Thursday as investors assessed the passage of a major tax and spending package alongside mixed labor market signals. The Dow Jones Industrial Average and the S&P 500 both gained 0.8%, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite rose 1%. The market's positive performance suggests investors are currently focused on the potential pro-growth aspects of the new legislation, despite concerns over trade and future inflation. Asian stocks fall on weak China services data and trade concerns. According to Bloomberg, Asian stock markets broadly declined on Friday, weighed down by weak economic data from China and persistent trade tensions. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index fell 1%, while the Australian dollar weakened after China's Caixin Services PMI dropped to a 9-month low. The downturn contrasted with gains in U.S. markets, highlighting regional sensitivity to China's economic health and the threat of new tariffs. European shares decline as investors eye looming U.S. tariff deadline. According to Reuters, European shares edged lower on Friday as investor caution prevailed ahead of a looming U.S. deadline for imposing higher tariffs on imports. The Pan-European Stoxx 600 index was down 0.4% in morning trade, on track for a weekly loss. Export-sensitive sectors such as mining and technology led the declines, reflecting market anxiety over the potential for an escalation in trade disputes between the United States and its major partners, including the European Union. Air France-KLM to acquire majority stake in Scandinavian airline SAS. According to Reuters, Air France-KLM announced it will acquire a majority stake in SAS Scandinavian Airlines, increasing its holding from 19.9% to 60.5%. The move marks a major step in European aviation consolidation and will see SAS become a subsidiary of the Franco-Dutch group, which also owns Transavia. The transaction, subject to regulatory approvals, is expected to close in the second half of 2026 and will further integrate SAS into the SkyTeam alliance. Microsoft announces plans to lay off 9,000 employees in major restructuring. According to the Associated Press, Microsoft announced Wednesday it is laying off about 9,000 employees, or 4% of its global workforce, in its second major round of job cuts this year. The restructuring will heavily impact its Xbox video game division, with some studios closing and projects cancelled. The company stated the move is part of an effort to reduce management layers and reallocate resources toward strategic growth areas, particularly artificial intelligence. Qantas confirms cyberattack exposes data of up to 6 million customers. According to Reuters, Australian airline Qantas confirmed on Wednesday that a cyberattack on a third-party service provider has exposed the personal data of up to 6 million customers. The breach occurred at a contact center and compromised information including names, email addresses, phone numbers, and dates of birth. Qantas stated that its own systems were not breached and that no financial information, passport details, or account passwords were accessed in the incident. Food retailer Ahold Delhaize breach exposed data of 2.2 million. According to Reuters, global food retailer Ahold Delhaize is notifying over 2.2 million people that their data was stolen in a November 2024 ransomware attack. A filing revealed the breach compromised internal employment records at its U.S. operations, which include chains like Food Lion and Stop and Shop. Exposed data may include names, social security numbers, and bank account information. The Inc. ransom group has claimed responsibility for the attack. U.S. medical device maker Surmodics recovering from disruptive cyber attack. According to Reuters, U.S. medical device maker Surmodics disclosed it is recovering from a cyber attack on June 5 that disrupted its IT infrastructure and forced it to use alternative methods to ship products. The company, which provides critical coatings for intravascular devices, said it has restored critical systems but is still investigating the full scope of the incident. The attack highlights the growing cyber threats facing the critical healthcare supply chain. Air India Express cited for delaying engine safety fix and forging records. According to Reuters, India's aviation watchdog reprimanded Air India Express in March for delaying a mandatory engine parts replacement on an Airbus A320 and falsifying maintenance records to show compliance. A government memo showed the budget carrier failed to adhere to a European safety directive concerning a potential unsafe condition on CFM LEAP 1A engines. The airline acknowledged the lapse and stated it has since taken remedial action,